Hi guys, this is Chris with IPGRentals.com. Today we're going to talk about the dual controller and single controller DJI Inspire 1 package that we offer here. We're also going to go over some tips and some reasons why this bird is one of our absolute favorites, and also a quick tutorial to get you in the air quickly. Let's go. Okay, so what I have in front of me right now is our dual controller DJI Inspire 1 package. We also offer the single controller package if it's just one person and you're out there in the field on your own. I do find that having two controllers when you're out there doing shots is a lot easier, makes it more cinematic, and the shots can be more intricate. So what we have down here on the table in front of me for our dual controller package is an Inspire 1. And depending on the camera, you can either opt to get the X3 or X5 camera. Right now, just for demonstration purposes, we have the X5 camera on here. We also have an SD card that comes with it that's inside the camera right now. Either, depending on your package, the two controllers or the single controller, and 3 of the TB47 batteries and the chargers to go with it as well. So that is what is inside our package. So before we do our tutorial, I just want to go through a short list of pros when it comes to the Inspire 1 and things that can influence your decision on your needs on your upcoming shoot. So I think pro number 1 is definitely going to be the weight. Generally, when you get up in the air higher than just your standard 10 or 20 feet, the wind is going to start whipping up and being an issue when it comes to lighter drones. This drone itself is a heavier drone, and I think it lends itself to do a lot better with winds that are between 10 and 18, 19 miles per hour. When it comes to about 20 miles per hour, just for safety purposes, I would not take off, again, because if you're doing things that are maybe over people or in tighter spaces, it definitely lends itself to be a bit of a potential issue. And again, if you're going to fly over people, be sure you have the proper certifications to do that. The second pro would definitely be having two controllers, having a dedicated pilot and a dedicated camera op. And I think that really ups the production value and the quality of shots that you can get with the Inspire by having a dedicated pilot and a dedicated camera operator. So pro number 3 would definitely be that the legs on the Inspire actually go up when you fly, which is awesome because you can actually pitch all the way forward, and go at the max speed forward, and you won't be able to see the propellers in there. And you can also go a full 360 around and you will not see the legs at all on your camera. So that's definitely a pro. Pro 4 would definitely be the interchangeability of the cameras. We've outfitted this Inspire with the plate that can take the X3 and also the X5 camera, which we have available for rental as well. So the 5th pro has to do with the controller. You have your USB out for your Apple or Android device to run the app, but you also have a mini HDMI out, which can go into a client monitor, which is very, very helpful when you have someone looking over your shoulder. Instead of that, they can have their own personal client monitor. So let's get this tutorial started. So first things first, you're going to see that the drone is actually in its landing mode right now. And I'm actually going to go ahead and take this camera off just to show you guys the mode that it's most likely going to come in. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this controller on, and before we even go into the app, I'm going to show you exactly how to get this thing from its landing mode to the travel mode and vice versa. So I'm going to kind of move this baby out a little bit. So I got the controller right here. I'm going to go ahead and turn the drone on, which is a 1 tap and then hold down the second one. And you can see I've detached the camera. Because you don't need it at this very moment. I'm just going to show you how to put it into its travel mode. So there's this little switch right here. And to get it into its travel mode, you're going to flip it down, flip it up, and flip it down. And then you'll see the drone is actually going to flatten out, which makes it much easier to transport. All right, here we go. And here we go. So I like to help it out. When it's doing this, you'll hear the motor kind of strain a little bit. You don't want it to strain. So I always, when it's either going up or going down, I'll actually grab it and either help it down or help it up so that you're not over exhausting the motor. So you see it right now. This is what's called travel mode, and it can go into cases a lot easier and a lot flatter. And to bring it back up, you're going to do the same thing but just opposite. So we're going to go up. And there it is. And in this mode, you're ready to put the camera on. So I'm going to go ahead and put this controller down. Now I am going to turn it off to put the camera back on, just because it's better for the drone that it's not active when you are putting the camera on. So now that I've turned it off, I'm actually going to remove this right here so I could work a little bit easier. So when you put this on, I'm actually going to go ahead and put it like this. You can see that the bottom is ready to receive, and you can see that it is unlocked right here. And to do this, there's a little lip right here that's going to go down right into there. And then you can see the electric leads are going to line up with the leads that are inside here. It's not quite difficult, but you just want to be sure that you're not putting strain or forcing anything where it doesn't need to be forced. So you have that there. And voila, your camera is locked up. Now to put the propeller on, these are actually the quick release propellers. When DJI first came out with these drones, they had a bit of an issue with them because they would screw on and there wasn't a really great connection, and some people had the misfortune of having the propellers actually fly off the drones when they were in the air. So then they released a clamp system, a plastic clamp system that went down on top, and then they finally came up, after trial and error, came up with these puppies, which are the quick release propellers. And to do that, it's quite simple. You'll go in, you'll push down, and you'll rotate, and then they'll come back up. And I always grab the motor and I always give them a little turn just to make sure, because over time the plastic structure inside here can start to wear out, and so it's a telltale sign that it's time to change the propellers if you hold the motor still and then you go to rotate them a little bit and they slip off. So that's a very good way to know, and a very safe way to tell that your propellers are not going to flip off to you on flight. And also make sure that there's no structural damage on the propellers as well, because everything works very, very well together here. And if there's structural integrity compromises going on, you're at risk for possibly having this thing fall out of the sky, which you don't want to do. So now we're going to go into the app. And like I did before, to turn on the controller, you hit it once and then hold it down the second time. You can see it's red because the drone is not on, but when it turns on, the drone, this light right here will turn green. So let's go ahead and turn the app on and take a look at it. So this right here is your home view, your home base. As you can see, we have this blinking light right here. That's your battery indicator, and green means that you are the pilot, the main controller, locked into your drone. So that will be green. If it is red, that means you are not having the correct communication and you need to go ahead and sync up your remote to your drone. So we did a couple videos already on the Osmo and on the Mavic, and you can see in here that it's a very similar setup. There are intricacies to each drone, but they're pretty much, I'd say, 90% the same. So I'm just kind of gonna breeze through this a little bit here. On the ready to go on the top, you'll see your firmware, your flight mode for GPS or ADI. When you flip into ADI mode, there's a switch right on the back of the controller. When you switch into ADI mode, that means that takes away the GPS capability. But it is actually good to switch into ADI mode sometimes, because say it was returning home and maybe, now this Inspire does not have sensors. This was one of the, was the first generation Inspire, so it doesn't have the sensors in the front of it. So obstacle avoidance, it doesn't exist for this drone. So if it's coming home and you see that it's gonna hit an obstacle, I switch it into ADI mode, and that gives you control over the drone again, instead of it just being fully automated and returning home based on the emergency protocol that it has. So you can see right now it's switching between GPS and ADI mode because I'm indoors. It's getting the signal from the GPS, it's also losing the signal from the GPS, so it's switching back and forth between there. Also, when you go into the intelligent flight modes, you'll be in ADI mode, which takes away the GPS capability. And I always say fly with caution when you are in ADI mode because there is no saving grace of the GPS. There's no triangulation of your position. So I would say always fly with caution, always keep it in your view. Regardless of if you have the GPS or not, keep it in your view because that's the safest flight behavior that you can have. So when you calibrate the compass, you would come over here and you would hit this calibrate button and you'd say okay. So you're going to take the drone and you're going to put it up like this and you're going to rotate it 360 degrees until you see a green light here. And then you're going to take it down like so and you're going to rotate it another 360 degrees. And the camera will be freaking out on you. Don't worry about that. That's normal. It's just trying to find itself because it thinks you're nosing straight down. So there is a green blinking light right here. Let me show you. You can see there's a green blinking light right here. That means it's accepted the calibration. And you are good to go from there. So now we'll jump back into the app right here. So your drone has accepted the calibration, so everything is good and normal. And again, you can come down here to your gimbal status. This is kind of also can be a user menu as well. Like other menus in here, like when you come over here to your camera settings, you can go and do your SD card format. But you can see on the bottom here, it also has remaining SD card, and you can go ahead and format. So I'll go ahead and format that while I'm here. Why not? And one more thing I'd like to touch on while I'm here, SD card formatted, is you can enter the travel mode. I showed you before that you flip this switch in order to get it into travel mode, but there's also an enter travel mode button right here, which will actually take it down flat for travel mode in case you maybe want to do it in the menu or want to do it in the button. It's completely up to you. So like the Mavic and like the Osmo, you can see all your settings in here. And because I have this in the as using the X5 camera, there's more capability with the camera, which I'll go into in 1 second. You do your manual focus and autofocus right here. You can change it between picture mode, and you can change it back to camera mode right there. There's to go ahead and start recording. And inside here, you have another capability that you don't have with the X3 camera. You have an aperture capability, which is absolutely fantastic. You can get yourself a very good depth of field, and it helps you, especially when you're in low lighting. Like I used to do a lot of, we would do night stuff from time to time. And the X3 camera, when you get up to 800 ISO, you start to see some noise and some grain, which kind of takes the power away from the X3 when it comes to night shooting. But with the X5, it actually has a lot more dynamic range in night, and you can open up your iris all the way. Even right now, I take away, I'm at ISO 100 indoors and at the proper shutter, and I'm still looking good. I still don't need to add any ISO because I can adjust my aperture. All right. You can see on the bottom there's an exposure value, which tells you that you're either too hot or you don't have enough light. So over here you have your different video size format, your country, either PAL or NTSC, do your white balances, your style, and you can adjust your color. There's logs, standing like, and then a bunch of other fun stuff down here that you can put down for your color space. And in the settings here, just like with the Mavic, you have your histogram, overexposure warning, your grids to help you, shoot better. You could do peaking and stuff like that. Obviously, you do a calibrate. You could do a calibration for the camera. You format the SD card, or just in case you want to, you can return to your camera settings. Right here's your play button. That's to look back at the thumbnails and play the clips that you've already shot. And down here is your actual map, and you can toggle back and forth between the two in case you wanted to see if you were making waypoints, in case you wanted to see exactly where it was going on a map. And now we're back here. And this right here shows you what direction your camera is facing in versus the drone. The drone's in red, the camera is in green, and that's very helpful in case you're looking in a direction, and it can be a little confusing when you're trying to go forward, but you're seeing on your camera that you're turned to the right. You start going forward, but it looks like you're going to the left. So this actually is a very good tool to let you know, hey, your camera's actually looking in this direction. And over here are your flight modes. And you can see point of interest, waypoints, follow me, home lock, and course lock. And remember, when you go into these, your GPS is disabled. So just understand that it's very good to keep a line of sight. Again, like I said before, it's very good to keep a line of sight when you have your GPS on or off, but in this mode, there's one less little security feature in there, so definitely keep your eyes open. So over here you have your camera in relation to your drone settings. You have your follow, you have your free mode, which is the operator has the control over the camera. You have your lock and your FPV. And then you have your orientation gimbal reset. So that's just in case you may not know where the camera's looking, and you just want it to go back to that front position just so you can see and make sure that the drone nose and your camera are looking in the exact same direction. And then there's your push to take off mode right there, which is equipped with the Mavic in the Mavic as well. So you can see at the top, you see that my battery is at 88%. We have two different kinds of batteries here. We have the TB47 battery and the TB48 battery. And typically, again, it's going to depend on the camera that you have on the drone, because the X5 camera is a good deal heavier than the X3, so that's going to bring down your flight time regardless of the battery you have. But we typically find that you get about 4 more minutes with the TB48s instead of the 47s. That's an available upgrade as well on IPGrentals.com. So I'm actually going to switch the spots of these controllers and just show you really quick the slave controller or the camera operator controller. So it's going to be exactly the same, but the only difference is you're not going to have control of the drone, you'll just have control of the camera. So you'll go to this top selection right here, and you can change your gimbal stick mode. And personal preference to me, I like to actually have everything on one stick. Just feels like you don't have to think about doing 2 fingers, controlling the camera at once. It could just come down to, if you want to go down to the left, you just go down and to the left. If you want to go up and to the right, you go up and to the right. If you want to go just hard right, you can go hard right. I just feel like it's one less thing that the operator has to think about, so that's just my personal preference for a camera operator. So down at the bottom, you'll see that there's the battery indicator, and you also see the blue light. The blue light tells you that you are hooked up to your pilot controller. If it's purple, that means you do not have a connection. Now, it's very important to be able to set these things up correctly. Let me jump in here and show you. So when you're doing this, you have the option for off, master, and slave. The other controller is set to the master. I have this one set to the slave. And when you are bringing in a new controller, or you changed controllers around, it's pretty easy. All you would do is you just hit search master, and it would find the master controller, and there would be a password on the other one that you'd have to put in. And then after that, you'd request control, and then on the other one, it would authorize and say, request control from this person. Then you'd say yes, and boom, you have control right there. So that's pretty much it when it comes to the camera operator controller, and that sums up the app. So that's the DJI Inspire 1 2-controller package that we offer here. So at IPGrentals.com, we drop a new video every Monday at 9 a.m. with tips and tricks about the gear that we rent to make you guys feel as comfortable as possible and confident on your shoots. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, it's our gear, it's your vision, IPGrentals.com.